Alright, so guys, welcome back to the channel, and this is like the first video I'm going to be putting out in this year 2026. Now, I know most of you must have made a lot of New Year resolutions to the things you want to get better at, the things you want to stop doing, and I know that playing and improving your bass guitar is not out of those New Year resolutions, which leads to the concept of what we're going to be learning in this video. Now, we're going to be facing our fears. Now, for me, I already made plans of how to face my fears with other things. Now, the first fear I want you guys to look out for is this. Most of you that come to the comment section and say, I don't understand tonic solfas, I don't understand alphabetical order, I don't understand number system. So this is going to help our flow with how we're going to learn faster. So even if I'm not able to put out the number interpretation of a particular note, you should be able to understand what I'm trying to communicate in that video. Or if you meet it in the tonic solfa format, you should be able to understand. So I'm going to be making you guys understand the number system, the tonic solfa, the letter alphabet, and how you can relate it to your play. If that sounds like what you want to learn, grab your note, grab your bass, and let's get into the video. And before we do that, please hit the like button and comment in the comment section. Happy New Year. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. I'm going to be putting out a lot of videos this year. So let's get into the video. Now, before we go further in this video, there's nothing too big for you to learn and there's nothing too little for you to learn. Okay, so let's go over to how many notes do we have in music. We have 12 notes in music and we have 7 natural notes, which is the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, right? And these 7 notes I just listed out, it's important for you to know that these are the natural notes. Now, what this means is that these are notes that occur in their natural form, while every other note takes reference from the natural note. So, because of what I just said now, that's why you see that when we are naming the number system of the whole 12 notes that we have in music, we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Instead, those other notes, which are the accidental notes, those are the notes you find in between the notes that have a whole step distance between them. For example, C to D is a whole step movement, right? The note in between it, if we're to name it according to how it is arranged, we should call that your 2, right? But because we have a system that is the number system that governs what we're doing, we cannot call that the 2. Instead, our C is the 1 and our 2 is the D. Then the note in between is an accidental note, which means that it could take any reference from the natural note. It's either you can call it a sharp 1, which is C sharp, or you can say a flat 2, which is D flat. So any note, any name between is going to take it. So when you're going to name it in number system, you're going to have 1 as sharp 1, 2 as flat 2. So basically, you're talking about the direction. When you have sharp, it's an ascending order. And when you have flat, it's a descending order. For example, on the bass, you have C, right? Now, C sharp, ascending order, right? But if you're going to play from a descending order, so you have, you see it. So that makes it easier for you to understand. Now, let's put out the numbers and the letters and the tonic solfas on the screen. Now, C, as you already know, is the 1, D is the 2, E is the 3, F is the 4, G is the 5, A, which is the 6, and then you have your B, which is the 7th note. Now, you most often see a repetition of the note you started, which is another C, which we can also call it 8. Now, 8 represents an octave, okay, a repetition of what we have in the beginning, right? And from there, you can go on and start having 9, 10, 11. Now, just have it at the back of your mind that when you have 9, it's simply telling you that 9 is your 2, because from your 1, you have 2, right? So it's more like after 8 is the repetition of what you have from 1 upward. So when you are faced with all those chords like your minor 13th, minor 11th, C major 11th, like that, you should know how to calculate this format, okay? So now, you already know the tonic solfas. I'm going to still put it out. You have C to be your do, at the same time 1 to be your do. So there's a technique to this that you can use to master it, basically rearranging them in the way you can see it on your screen now. 1 to be C and then C to be D on the same line, then like that, like that, like that, which makes it easier for you to always remember and understand. It's a very simple trick. I did not find it very difficult understanding it, right? So when you see someone saying number system, you should be able to understand what it means. Now, coming up as a bass player, I had a group of friends that when we go out to play, and in a situation where maybe you are on stage and you don't know the song that they just sang, and you have a friend who is also a musician that is in the congregation who has probably learnt that song, the way it can help you is when you understand the number system. So what he's going to do is just sit from the congregation and then wave his hands like he's worshiping, and then just go on like this, right? With his two hands, like that. Now, we already mentioned earlier in this video on how you can actually relate the sharps and the flats, right? Now, on the bass guitar, it's very confusing for most bass players to understand the ascending and descending order. Now, on the bass, when you're going down like this, that's the ascending order. And when you're going up like this, that's the descending order. Which means when you're playing, do you notice how the pitch keeps going up? And when you're going like this, it keeps getting flat, right? But it's hard to understand because, like I said, this is going down actually. So it should be the opposite of what you're doing. But this is the reality that we have to face as bass players. Okay, so on the number system, when you're moving in ascending order, right, you can literally say everything is going in sharps. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, because you don't have any notes in between, so it's a half step movement. Then you have F sharp, then you have G, then you have G sharp, then you have A, then you have A sharp, then you have B, right? Then you have your C again, which is the octave, which is a half step. Now, when you're moving in descending order, because you're moving in flat, the notes are going in flat, right? So you have C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, because it's a half step, there's no note in between. Then you have E flat, D, then you have D flat, then you have C. Now you will notice how I named everything in ascending and descending order regardless. I know that most times when we're playing, you will hardly hear where someone calls your C sharp D flat. But for the purpose of this lesson, so you understand how it works, both with the number system, the alphabetical order, that's why I had to name it like this. Okay, so C, C flat, D, like that. You can go ahead and label this or write it out so you can memorize it after you're done watching this video. Okay, it's very important. So with that being said, if I'm going to name this in number system, you see that everything is going in sharp now, so I'm going to name them according to that same sharp. Now you have C, which is 1, sharp 1. You have D, which is 2, sharp 2, which is going to be the same thing as saying D sharp, right? Then you have 3, then 4. You remember there is no note in between. You have sharp 4, you have 5, you have sharp 5, you have 6, you have sharp 6, then you have your 7th note, and then down to your 8th. Very simple. Now you can see how I just played this in ascending order, naming them after them as sharps. Now I strongly recommend that you write it out the same way we did for the major scale and the minor scale, like in a straight line, so that you can see and match them accordingly. So now let me play it in descending order. You have 8, you have 7, because there's no note in between. You have flat 7, which is the same thing as saying B flat, right? You have your 6, you have flat 6, which is the same thing as saying G sharp, right? The only difference between what you have here is the direction where you're coming from in the pitch. If it is in sharp or you're coming from flat, right? That is the descending or ascending order. Now, one of the, like I explained earlier, what the sharp and flat help you to do is to tell you direction of where you're coming from. And we always take reference from the natural note, right? So if I want to tell you to play maybe flat 5, I'm literally telling you to play 5, which is your G, right? But I'm saying play a flat version of it. So if you're to play a flat version of it, it means that you're going to play -1 of that note. You're going to minus one of the notes, if that makes sense. You're going to play like -1 of that note. So flat 5 is you're going to have your sharp 4. The same thing. Okay, so back to what I'm saying. You have the same thing. Your 6, flat 6. You have flat 6, then you have 5, you have flat 5, which is same thing as F sharp, right? You have 4, then you have 3, then you have flat 3, you have 2, you have flat 2, and then back to your 1. Very simple. Okay, but now because we have a standard way that we always find ourselves doing these things, right? You will barely hear sharp 2 like that. You will also hear it, but you will more often hear E flat and then B flat, right? And then you're going to more often hear C sharp, F sharp, G sharp. All those notes, you hear them in that format. I'm only doing this so that you get to know what it means when somebody say those things. Even if they don't say it the standard way, you will be able to understand what they're trying to communicate. Now, before we end this video, let's go over to understanding the tonic solfas. Now, on the accidental notes, we have C sharp. What is the sound in the tonic solfa? Which is D. What tonic solfas always represent is the tone of that note. So, do, 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 D, re, mo, right? Mi, fa, fi, so, zi, la, do, ti, do. I also recommend that you write it out the same way you did for those number systems, so you don't get kicked out when somebody say to. You start wondering what notes should be to. It's the same thing as saying flat 7 or sharp 6, whichever one you find yourself calling it as or somebody calls it at. Okay, so the 5 accidental notes we have, what are their note values? We have D, we have mo, we have fi, and then we have Z, and then we have to. Now, D is the same thing as saying sharp 2 or flat 2, or same time saying C sharp. Now, mo is same thing as saying sharp 2 or E flat. That is mo. Now, fi is the same thing as saying sharp 4 or flat 5. Now, Z is the same thing as saying sharp 5 or saying flat 6, right? Which is the same thing as saying G sharp, right? I forgot to make mention of this. It's the same thing as saying D sharp for the more, right? It's the same thing as saying D sharp or E flat. So down to to, which is the same thing as saying flat 7 or sharp 6, is the same thing as saying B flat. So with all this that I've been able to cover in this lesson, I hope you've been able to understand the number system, the letter system, the tonic solfa system, and how you can actually relate them. This is very, very important for proper communication as a musician. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Do well to hit the like button. Do well to hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Say something in the comment section. It goes a long way to encouraging me because I get feedback from the likes and the comments. Let's meet in the next video. Peace.